Okay, the first affirmative is has an explanation of the basic issues and ideas. You need a structure. We've got 4 people who are all trying to follow arguments on this issue, and it's so much easier if you have a numerical structure to follow in a debate. So you need to label your claims and give them a numerical signpost. That'll be easier for everybody to follow. Then I can tell when Ian makes a comment, does that apply to which argument that that Bob's presented in the debate? There needs to be a stronger structure on that. The affirmative philosophy is pretty well explained. Look, juveniles, they don't really understand things, and so they need an opportunity to learn, and rehabilitation would be that opportunity. Now, I heard you present some statistics, but I didn't hear any source citation on them, and you want to make sure that you provide the sources on that. You said that there are 250,000 kids serving sentences right now who were tried as adults when they were juveniles, and I think there was another statistic about 70,000, maybe that was annually, something like that.
That's that aren't living in their homes.
Oh, that's right, that are not living in with their families. They're outside of their families, something like. So is that of the 250,000 who are in prison? What does that number refer to?
Some of them are in prison, some of them are in group homes, some of them are, that's all of them that aren't living with their families. Because
all of who?
Of the juveniles.
The juveniles who have been charged with crimes? See, that's what you need to do is when you have these statistics, you have to tell us what the statistic represents, and then tell us what inference you want us to draw from this. And it seems to suggest here that a large number of juveniles who are charged with crimes were not even living in their homes, and so the inference from that is that these kids are acting without any kind of guidance. That seems to be the inference that I think you're trying to make here. You need to make that claim. We shouldn't have to guess what it is. You need to come out and make an explicit statement. The biggest problem that I'm seeing in the debate so far is that you guys have information and you're not always citing the sources of the information. We're not getting complete quotes. We're getting partial bits and pieces of information. And the other thing is that we're often being given the information without being told what's the claim that you want us to make from the data that you're presenting. We need those declarative sentences. Tell us, what does this mean, and how am I supposed to evaluate it? And I thought that was a little bit problematic. What did the number say of the...
70,000 juvenile offenders are not living in their homes, but are held in resident outplacement. So juvenile detention facilities, correction facilities, and group homes or shelters.
Well, that sounds like you're talking about kids who have been convicted of a crime. They're juvenile offenders, right?
Yeah.
So they aren't in their homes, they are, that's a little bit different. Now the argument seems to be that that some of them aren't even sent to prisons, they are sent to, this would be something that maybe the negative could be talking about. They present a piece of evidence that 70,000 of these 250,000 who get charged with crimes are not living in their homes, they're living in juvenile facilities, they're living in halfway houses or foster care or something like that where they're supervised. So apparently they're not in prison. Maybe that would be a way to interpret it. I'm still not sure what this statistic means, but it's and what it comes from. But if I was the negative, I'd be looking at it and saying, well, this shows that they aren't going to prison. And that seems to be a problem. Here's the other thing that I think that you haven't demonstrated. Why is anybody who is under 18 charged as an adult? We have a juvenile court system, right? And most juvenile cases are handled by the juvenile court system. Is that correct? Okay. So, see that this goes back. We're not getting a very clear description of what the inherency issue is. All right. So, you've got information about 250,000 juveniles being charged as adults. I don't know if that's annually, I don't remember, but there was a statistic like that. That seems like a lot to me. I'm not sure that we have that many people being convicted every year of crimes. So I'd have to see a little bit more context on that. But 250,000 a year, maybe it's 250,000 total. I don't know for sure how that fits in there. But we're talking about what the system is like, and you need to have an argument that says, look, the system processes these people, and any kid that they think doesn't fit into, whatever, rehabilitation or something like that, they charge them with a serious crime. But we don't do a good job in making that decision. In fact, we shouldn't be making that decision because we can't decide that. They should all go into the juvenile justice system. That's kind of what you need to say, that we're processing way too many of them through this system this way. And that's the only information that we have on the present system, is that one statistic that you present. I think the negative is missing an opportunity here also. There is a juvenile justice system. The vast majority of kids go through the juvenile justice system. They're not getting sent to prison for stealing gum, for calling somebody a nasty name. They're not going to prison for life like they described for residential burglary where they're breaking into somebody's garage and stealing a bicycle.
I did touch on that a little bit.
Well, I know you said something like that, but here's what you need to say. You said the justice system is applying to these kids, that most of them fit into these particular categories. It only applies to kids, it only puts kids in the adult system when there's an egregious crime that's going on. And that, I think, you need to focus a little bit more on. You need to explain. I mean, you did have a piece of information that said, that they're charged with as adults when they've committed, and you had a list of, serious particular kinds of crimes. Who makes that decision? That's part of the inherency process. The affirmative is saying nobody should make that decision. That they're under 18, so they're incapable of doing anything that would be that they would understand what's going on. In the present system, somebody's making the decision that this kid should be charged as an adult and this kid shouldn't be charged as an adult. Are those people who are making that decision, are they doing so in a responsible way? Are they cognizant of all the information that's gone on? Do they know the things that the affirmative appears to know, that sometimes kids say things that they don't really mean, that they don't understand the difference between right and wrong, that they maybe just learned something from television? The affirmative is in essence saying, we don't give a damn about those kids regardless. You ought to be taking the position that it's the responsibility of the prosecutors and the juvenile justice system to determine whether or not somebody is charged with an adult, and they're the ones who are in the best position to make that decision. Not the affirmative that says nobody fits into this category, but prosecutors who deal with hardened criminals, the juvenile court who deals with a variety of kids in a variety of cases, and the criminal justice system. They are the ones that have to combine to make this decision. And your argument should be, we should trust them, that they know what the hell they're doing. And and unless we're shown that there's some significant harm that occurs to kids that could have been saved by going through the juvenile justice system instead of the adult criminal system, then we ought to trust these people to make the decision. And to me, that seems like a safe inherency position to take on this, and an obvious one. You touch on it a little bit, but it seems to me like that's the essence of their case, is that nobody is capable of making that decision, and it's absolutely the same for everybody under the age of 18. And you ought to be making the argument that says everybody under the age of 18 is not the same. And how do we know that? I think it was late in the debate that your side finally mentioned, I don't remember whether it was you or Mallory, that these kids that are charged as adults, how many previous crimes have they been charged with on average?
16.
So it was Mallory because she had the evidence, So here's a proof of that particular point. These kids are not being, it's not like I made one mistake and now I'm going to be judged for it the rest of my life. That's what the affirmative wants you to see. I killed somebody and didn't know what the hell I was doing, and now you want to judge me for the rest of my life, put me in prison forever on that. I'm sorry, a prosecutor looks at this kid and says, no, this kid has committed dozens of crimes before. They've had plenty of contact with the criminal justice system. It's not a mistake. They are horrendous human beings that we need to do something about, and the juvenile justice system can't do anything about it effectively because many of them have gone through it several times already. That's the way you need to be putting this information together and making that kind of argument. I see both sides have good ideas here, but they're not being fleshed out. It's like you haven't thought about them past the first level, and you need to think about them on multiple levels, and then how that contrasts to the other position. The affirmative position on this should be, no, we shouldn't be trusting the system because the system, it's easier if we lock them up. The prosecutors get more glory if they, put away somebody that they see as being dangerous. The decision to charge somebody as an adult should not be something that is arbitrarily decided by this group of people because they're not capable of making the right kind of decisions. We know psychologically kids really don't understand these kinds of things. And again, you need a little bit more evidence on that. So I think you guys have gotten to the first layer of the argument, but you're not really developing some of the other issues. And everybody needs a little bit more evidence in the debate. All right. We'll keep it that short.